What's cracking, everybody? It's your boy Leo, and welcome to the bird section. Had to get on here tonight because, I wanted to give a quick update. To be honest with you, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, you know, um, we had a good week of first week, a good first week of practice. Praise God, everyone got through with health. Nothing too serious to talk about. Jalen Carter is nursing a shoulder, so they're just keeping him you know light just for precautionary purposes. Jahad Campbell is a full go, and he looks great. Um, can't wait to see. I've heard AJ Dillon is turning heads. And it kind of makes me realize, like, okay, AJ could have a career year behind this offensive line, just like um Saquon had. Not saying he's going to have the same kind of year. I mean, I'm not calling 2,000 yards for AJ Dillon. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that a quality bat like AJ Dillon, going into a year where he's going to be fully healthy after suffering a neck injury and 2 years ago, which put him out of the football for the last couple years with Green Bay. Now that he's back and he's playing behind a quality line, looking strong as ever, I don't know. Then we have year two of Will Shipley. Then I heard there's another rookie who intends to be a finisher. So, things are looking good in terms of, like our run game, and just continue to pray for health. You know, um, the biggest question mark I would say does come from the defense, which is in our secondary. Who's going to be the number two DB behind on the opposite side of Quinyon Mitchell? Has anyone separated themselves yet? And to this point, no, not yet. But it's only been a week of training camp, so the boys are off today, so they'll get back at it tomorrow morning. But again, Eli Ricks, Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, you guys, I wouldn't be surprised, knowing Howie, he may end up bringing another veteran in, just to shore up, to beef up that secondary. Cooper DeJean is playing in the base package and at the safety position. He's been switching out between him and Andrew Makuba, Sidney Brown, on the opposite side of Reed Blankenship. So, you know, linebacker core looking pretty good. Defense, the whole front four looks good. Morrow, Jomo, Jalix Hunt looks like he's on a man on a mission. Ty Robinson is going to be an issue. You know, and then of course Jordan Davis came in the camp 26 pounds lighter than when he was the last time they played in the Super Bowl. So things are still on a positive note. So I'm not really concerned. I mean, I'm somewhat concerned, but not overly concerned. Let's put it that way. Um, the offense, again, with the running back situation, of course, our wide receivers, AJ and Devontae, are doing their thing. So is Dallas Goddard at tight end. I'm interested in seeing how Terrence Marshall is going to make his way onto this team. And of course you got Jahan Dotson, who's who's playing in his fourth year, going into his fifth year. So we'll see. No, he's going into his fourth year. So we'll see. The Eagles declined his fifth year option. And so he's motivated. He has motivation to try to, stick somewhere. If it's not with Philadelphia, worst case scenario, he'll do something. He'll do something really well at the end of this season, and somebody pick him up, and we'll get something for it. So, it's not a bad place to be right now, especially when you got a bunch of young guys. And again, I can't harp enough on the fact that we have 13 picks coming up in the 2026 NFL draft. So, this is like one of those things where I'm just like, damn. Today I did the channel member show with the Game Time Brian, and then later on I did it with Mark Holmes, and I listening to that fan base, listening to those guys talk, especially when you listen to them talk about training camp, and it's so different. It's so different. It's nothing like we've seen before. and this person looks good, and Jadon Blue was running really well in training camp, and it's like, yeah, but he was running really well against the Dallas Cowboys defense. That's that's not saying anything, and especially when you have, when you think about in years past. That's not okay. I don't care about Dak throwing picks and all that other stuff because in training camp, that's what you want. You want the mistakes. That's where the mistakes have to happen. That's where you really want them to happen, so they don't happen during the season. You got the Dallas Cowboy fan base it just seems like they're trying to convince themselves that this is going to be the year or a good year. And I'm just like, I think you guys are setting yourselves up for another letdown, and I tried to express that, now understand game time. Brian was like, I get what you're saying, Leo, you right. I mean, the evidence says so, and I get, and I told him, I said, yo, everything is notable in terms of the things that you're saying that are different, because there are some things that are different with the Cowboys fan base. And then Jerry Jones and his son, Stephen Jones, they that's when they open up their mouths and undermined everything. You know what I'm saying? Everything that, like, if you go to Mark Holmes's his page, go to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Make sure you like and subscribe. Same thing here with the bird section. But go to the Joe Boo Sports Report with Mark Holmes and take a look at the call-in show and just listen. Listen to how they, and listen. You know what, man? I respect the fandom. I respect it. They stand 10 toes down. But god damn. I asked on both those channels call-ins today. Like, do any of you ever, well, no, I actually only asked it on Mark's show, on Mark's channel, but I was like, do you ever go back and look at what you were saying this time a year ago? Do you ever go back and look at what you were saying this time 2 years ago? This time 3 years ago? Because you know what? He's got enough content on his channel that if folks would just sit there and and go back to this time a year ago, this time 2 years ago, this time 3 years ago, and listen to what they were saying with Mark and everybody else that are channel members, the things that they were saying, you know, and then, I was teasing him about, like, watching him fall out his chair when Dak threw the pick six and stuff like that. And, it's interesting because I don't think that Dak Prescott is the sole reason why they lost those three playoff games in the fashion that they did. I never thought that, I never said that. But what I will tell you is that Dak was a key contributor, throwing pick sixes, interceptions, running too long, and not knowing the clock management. Like, there was, like, of course the defense didn't do what they were supposed to do. Running backs didn't do what they were supposed to do. Everybody, it was a team effort, but for some odd reason, particularly when it comes to Mark, he likes to hide the fact that Dak was a key contributor to why they lost. Not the sole reason, but a contributor. Okay. I mean, there's a very famous, video out there where Mark is like watching it, and his friend goes, I just want to see a run. And then next thing you know, you hear him screaming, oh, Dak, no. He threw a pick. You know what I'm saying? His son, Mike Anthony, gets up and he's like, that's it. That's it. You tried to throw it to CD Lamb. You tried to throw it to CD Lamb. That's it. Congratulations, it's over. Congratulations, it's over. Like, and I told Mark, I said, Mark, what's interesting is that the bigger the game, the more Dak shrinks. And you guys are sitting there and you're literally trying to convince the rest of the league this is different. This is different, man. If you don't go ahead with that shit, I mean, for real. At some point, you got to say, like, enough is enough. Dak got to go. You know what I'm saying? You've had him for 10 years. Okay? 10. That means that a third of the 30 years, which is 10, a third, of the 30 years of this drought that y'all have been under, you know what I'm saying? He accounts for a third of that. Then Tony Romo, and you can go back whoever else, but I mean, god damn. So again, like and I'm saying, hey, I was asking, like, are you guys optimistic or are you cautiously optimistic? And man, these cats are all in. I mean, new coach, new this. I mean, hey, now that got listen to them. That got a wide receiver 1A, and a wide receiver 1B. Can't really tell you too much about. Don't sound too confident when it comes to that run game. You know, they sold up. Jake Ferguson for next 3 years, next 3-4 years. Everything's sold up, but guess what? Micah ain't paid, and then you got Jerry and his son talking about if Micah don't want to get paid. You know what I'm saying? Like Micah has to want to get paid. This dude is holding in, and this how they talk about him. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you right now, y'all could, for the Dallas Cowboy fan base, y'all can say whatever you want. But if I'm an active player in the NFL and I'm watching how this go, man, I don't want to play for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I want to pay for them? It's so hard to get paid, even when you've outperformed your rookie contract. They look at how do you know they waited hours before the first game of last season to sign their star quarterback, and they still overpaid. You know what I'm saying? They overpaid for their wide receiver, for CD. You know what I'm saying? Like, how is this? Again, like when I look at the total effort organizationally, you know what I'm saying? There's the players, there's the coaches, and then there's the front office and ownership. The front office and ownership, geez, oh man. Like if they, okay, I wallow in the fact that they're having so many problems. I love it, as an Eagles fan, but I think I draw exception when I have Cowboy fans trying to convince me of something that just isn't true. And it rubbed Mark wrong because I told him, I'm already on the hook. I told Mark during the Super Bowl, before the Super Bowl started, that we were going to win the Super Bowl and that we were going to repeat. I said we were going to repeat before we won the Super Bowl. So when it comes to the 2025-26 season, Leo is on the hook. Okay, I am well aware of it. All right, I am on the hook, but I know that the things that I'm saying and the way that I'm saying it just rubs them raw. You know what I'm saying? It just rubs them the wrong way all the way. So I love it. I'm enjoying it. Again, I wallow in their sorrow. I like seeing how they're going through the range of emotions, trying to convince themselves of something that, for all intent and purposes, says it's not going to happen. So, you know, that's all. I just wanted to come on here and give my take on the week's practice and stuff like that, and just say, hey, Cowboy fans, I don't know, man. Like y'all somebody need to better get in your ear Jerry Jones and Steven and tell them, like, shut up. Hey, get this thing done, because it's a distraction for you guys, the fan base, and this type of dysfunction, with the organization and the front office and ownership. This is how sad it is. This dysfunction is normal to them. This is normal to the fan base. They are so cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, it's how they do, huh? What? What? No, like, no. And this is what's even sadder. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's sad, but it's funny as hell to me, is that they are so fine with being regular season champions. They are just fine with that. They are desperate for to make the playoffs. Not to win the Super Bowl. I mean, I heard the rookie. I heard the guard from the offensive line saying, "We're going for the Super Bowl." Really, really. Okay, with this team, this owner, yeah, all right. You know what I'm saying? The failures of the front office and the ownership has everything to do with the cap. They're horrible with the cap. Even when they got a massive amount of cap space, they're still horrible with the cap. They'd much rather overpay. And then they hear the shots that they're taking. It's, you know, I don't know. I I've been I'm so far removed from these days and not having won a Super Bowl and all this other stuff. I'm so removed from that. I see, and it's like, damn, like, okay, well, it is what it is. So with that, I just wanted to come on and let's say a few words and see, I don't know. It's just sad. I'll talk to y'all later. I'll check in with y'all again tomorrow, all right? Later. Oh, this is great.